that. I'm going to go now to Benoit, and I think Benoit is going to, coming from an ecumenical and interfaith perspective. Thank you, Benoit, for taking part. Really appreciate it, and good to see you again. So I give you the floor. We're having a little bit of difficulty with Benoit. And one of the administrators double check. Benoit, can you check your microphone just to make sure it's not muted?
Okay, I am mute now.
Perfect. We hear you loud and clear, Benoit.
Okay, thank you. So I repeat that I will be very short, since a lot of things I prepared has been said before by other speakers. I had prepared 5 items. I wanted to speak about the authenticity and historicity of the cultural and religious heritage in the Horn, and especially in Tigray. I will be very short with it because there was a lot of repetition in it. I wanted to speak about previous hostilities and brutalities amongst believers in the Horn, and especially in Tigray. Third, I want to address you about actual brutalities against cultural and religious heritage in Tigray. I refer to the testimonies we've heard before, and I will extend a little bit more my explanations when speaking about reactions of religions towards the brutalities in Tigray, and with some final remarks about challenges of the ecumenical action in favor of the victims and the religious heritage in Tigray. So let me start by repeating that the Horn, and especially Tigray, is a cradle of numerous cultural traditions. First of all, of course, traditions that were there before our actual religions, traditions that we can find on the archaeological sites that are on the list of UNESCO since the 80s, and show that the civilizations in Tigray are old for more than millennia, centuries before our era. The Christian presence in this cradle of Abrahamic religions goes back to the 4th century, and you may know that Christian presence has been pre-Chalcedonian, so it was there before the Ecumenical Council of Chalcedon. What makes that the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and the Eritrean Orthodox Church that has been erected in 1993, or they were Hedo churches, what means in Ge'ez, we heard about the language united as one, and refers to the Oriental Orthodox belief in one perfectly unified nature of Christ, as opposed to the 2 natures commonly held by Latin and Eastern Catholic, Eastern Orthodox and Protestant churches. The heritage of that Ethiopian Orthodox Church in Tigray is very old, and I refer to the site of Our Lady Mary of Zion, but we heard about it, and we heard about the attack of that site in November at the occasion of the festival of Tzayin Mariam that it yearly took place at that monastery that is traditionally claimed to contain the Ark of the Covenant. There was also, and there was already spoken about it, so I don't have to detail it, very old Islamic presence in the area. The Negash Amidin Neshedi is the oldest mosque in Africa, and by tradition a burial site of several followers of the Prophet Muhammad, who during his lifetime fled to the Aksumite kingdom to escape persecution in Mecca. Do not think, it's my second point, that the hostilities and brutalities amongst believers in the Horn and especially in Tigray are new. Since the 14th century, Portuguese voyages opened the way of direct contacts between the Catholic world in the West and the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Catholic missionaries arrived, and one of them converted the Emperor Susenyos in the 17th. So Latinization was a little bit by force imposed in the 17th century, but the successor of that Susenyos emperor in the midst of the 17th century ended the union with Rome and killed all the remaining Latin missionaries.
Benoit,
Yes.
I'm just conscious of time here, Benoit.
I am going faster. I do understand. Thank you, Paddy. And that's why for the next 200 years, Ethiopia was close to Catholic missions, and Catholicism was re-established after the Second World War. But let us not forget that there was also Western brutalities in the region. I can talk about the massacre of Debre Libanos in 1937, for which Cardinal Bassetti, on behalf of the Italian Conference of Bishops, a few months ago presented his apologies to the Ethiopians. But now the actual brutalities, I don't have to detail them again. We heard about it during the testimonies. The reactions of the churches. First of all, the reactions of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church by means of Abuna Matthias. The first comment on the war already talked about genocide and repeated it a few weeks ago. And since then, his life is threatened. The Catholic Church is very careful in its public and certainly political statements. For the moment, the Catholic Church is centering its efforts in the relief of the poor and vulnerable victims of the brutalities. So in the presentation I finish now, you will see what the Catholic churches offered as help to what is happening in the region. That help coming amongst others after an appeal of the Bishop of Adigrat, Monsignor Medine Selassie, has also been extended by the conference, the Association of East African Bishops. The International Network of Catholic Relief Organization, I called it a few minutes ago before we started the webinar, is also very careful in public declarations, but is still active on the ground with relief for what is happening.
Benoit,
so I come to my last point.
Yeah, really need to move on.
Are there challenges in that ecumenical help in favor of what is happening in Tigray? Yes, the biggest challenge is how can we help local churches, the Ethiopian Church, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, the Eritrean Orthodox Church, to raise its voice. Those churches are national churches, so they are quite hesitating in public declarations because of their local position. In Catholic world, there is a big Catholic network that is the church, and that can help. In ecumenical relations, that is not as easy. The World Council of Churches released a press statement in the beginning of the conflict in November last year, but since then it is quite silent in Geneva. So indeed, we should examine how we can urge
Yes,
the ecumenical movement.
I think, Benoit, on that point, I think your point really is we really need to reflect on how we put this pressure right across